The women's volleyball team is just coming off a dominating win in round 1 of the NCAA tournament.
And the women's basketball team continues to win.
Thank you for joining us. Golden Eagle Sports Report starts right now.
Slam! Dunk! Oh, that's a poster.
Live from the Jeannie Hayes Virtual Studio at Marquette University, this is Golden Eagle Sports Report.
Marquette gets the rebound, and the champions have gone down.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ben Hansen, joined by Nate Rodriguez. The volleyball team keeps its postseason run alive and will continue dancing into the second round of the NCAA tournament after sweeping Eastern Illinois.
Volleyball beat reporter Jack Albright is in West Lafayette to give us his match takeaways. Jack, thank you for being here.
So first off, the women were able to bounce back after a tough loss to St. John's in the Big East semifinals. What did you see from the squad tonight to get the win?
It was a great team effort all around to get the win, but who is your pick for team MVP?
Hey Jack, we're having a couple of technical difficulties right now. We're going to try to get back to you. We're having trouble hearing you, but we'll try to swing back as soon as possible. Appreciate it. So the women have another game coming up against Purdue. They'll get to that later, and Jack will talk about that soon.
We'll be playing Purdue or Fairfield tomorrow at about 6 p.m. Central Time for a spot in the Sweet 16.
Tyson and his squad will try to make it back to the Sweet 16 for the second straight year. Now, Nate, the volleyball team is not the only team on campus that seems to be thriving.
Yep. The number 23 ranked women's basketball team is putting on a clinic to start their season.
The Golden Eagles host Memphis in the Al McGuire Center in hopes of staying undefeated on the season.
In the first quarter, the Golden Eagles did just that, spearheaded by Lisa Carlin on both ends of the floor.
Shooting 4 for 4 from the field, adding a three-pointer and a block, Carlin dominated the first quarter.
Even with these stats, Memphis managed to shoot a 50% clip, leading the game 21-20 in the first 10 minutes.
Marquette managed to completely turn the tides in the second quarter, holding Memphis to just 6 points while scoring 23.
The Golden Eagles kept their foot on their necks for the rest of the game, with 4 players scoring double digits for the 6th time this season.
Rose Nkumu scored her career-high 17 points, while Carlin finished with a game-high 21 points.
Jordan King also led Marquette with 6 assists and 14 points of her own.
As a whole, the Golden Eagles shot 10 for 16 from 3, had 24 assists for their 34 makes, and never shot below 50% in a quarter.
Coming off a big tournament high, Coach Duffy was worried about how the team would come out versus Memphis.
But as soon as the game started, those worries went away.
Just coming back from Florida with 2 great wins, I was a little bit concerned about how we were going to come out. First game back, and I thought my concerns came to fruition in the first quarter. I thought we were a step slow, but then continued to score the ball, which was good. But then our defense came into play, which was awesome, and overall just a great team effort.
Joining us on the panel today is women's basketball analyst Matt Baltz. Thanks for joining us.
Good to be here.
What a great time to cover women's basketball. Currently, the Golden Eagles are the 23rd ranked team in the country at 7-0. Coming off a 29-point victory, the Golden Eagles are looking like a put-together basketball team. Matt, what did you see in the Memphis game that set Marquette apart?
Yeah, Ben, as Duffy mentioned in her presser, they did trail 21-20 after one. They did come out a little slow. However, after the first quarter, they outscored Memphis 68-38 in the last three quarters, and they really did it with a balanced attack. Rosen Kumu, Liza Carlin, Mackenzie Hare, and Jordan King all scored in double figures. That is the sixth time out of 7 games that they've had at least 4 players score in double figures.
Wow.
So they've really been, scoring. Scoring is coming from everywhere with this team. They've also been defending at a high level, and they have been very well rounded to start the season.
Yeah, of course, those are great points. So coming on into the season, the biggest question was who will step up with the departure of Chloe Murata. So far, Roseanne Kumu and Liza Carlin have done just that. So who do you think has been the team MVP so far?
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with the voters down in Fort Myers. I'm going to go with Roseanne Kumu as my MVP. She, the Iowa City native, is averaging 11.1 points a game and 5.1 assists per game. And stats don't really do it justice either, to the leadership she's brought to this Golden Eagles and the tenacity and, leadership as well that she's brought on the defensive end of the floor for the Golden Eagles as, they have just been getting after it on defense, and Kumu has been leading the charge and taking a lot of charges, whether it's been on defense, offense, sharing the wealth, whatever. Rosen Kumu has been doing a lot for this Golden Eagles team this year.
Yeah, for sure. She sounds like a real asset to the team. So coming up on Sunday, Marquette will play the University of Pennsylvania in hopes to go 8-0. What does Marquette have to do to take this game, and will it shake up the rankings at all?
Yeah, I think Marquette averaged almost 83 points a game. They're very high scoring offense, but the thing is they're a balanced scoring offense, as we talked about. As an opposing team, it's a lot easier to defend, a team that's scoring 83 points a game. If they have one person, scoring 25 points a game, or 2 players scoring 20 points a game. Marquette has 4 players averaging 10 points a game, so it can be hard to really kind of, make a game plan up to really defend that.
Yeah.
Marquette, it's also going to come 3-point percentage. Marquette ranks top 4 in the entire country in 3-point percentage at 43%. The Golden Eagles have been lighting it up from 3 this year, absolutely lighting it up. As long as they shoot it well from deep, distribute the ball, and play good defense, they should have no problem with Penn on Sunday.
Yeah, it sounds like they have a really good chance. So we mentioned Marquette's ranking sitting at 23rd in the country with conference play quickly approaching. What does Marquette need to do to sustain the success before the start of conference play?
Yeah, I think, you just look at everything we've talked about, distributing the ball, keep the scoring, coming from all different places. You have 5 to 6 options on the team that could go off for 10 points or more on any given night. You really look at, the 3-point shooting, top 4 in the country. Mackenzie Hare has been having a phenomenal year from beyond the arc. So really, the Golden Eagles, they just have to keep doing what they're doing and really keep, battling. I don't think that 2 wins against Memphis and Penn will move the needle too much in the rankings. Maybe you see them move up a spot or 2, but there's a very good chance that when Creighton comes to town on December 13th for the first Big East matchup, that'll be a ranked matchup for both teams, and it'll be a huge one for the Golden Eagles to open up conference play.
Yeah, well, it sounds like a bright future for Marquette. Thank you for your insights, Matt. We'll be right back.
After you joined our family, it was like, I really do feel complete now.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate, and it's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
Sometimes the things we do or say can make others feel hurt, excluded, or isolated. Everything you say and do creates an impact.
How am I supposed to save the whole world?
You can't think about saving the world. You have to think about saving one person.
Because of you, someone's entire life can change. You don't have to be a superhero to have a positive impact.
Friends?
Friends.
Welcome back to GESR. Once again, I'm Ben Hansen.
And I'm Nate Rodriguez. We are going to try volleyball beat reporter Jack Albright again. Jack, thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me. Sorry about technical difficulties.
No worries. I appreciate you making the time, Jack. So first off, the women were able to bounce back after a tough loss to St. John's in the Big East semifinals. So what did you see from the squad to get the win?
Really spread out offense. I think that was something that started and didn't stop for Marquette. And you go back to that loss to St. John's in the Big East tournament semifinals, and a lot of it revolved around them not being able to move the ball. And a big question coming into the game was, well, is that going to continue? Because they still don't have Ella Foti, who has that injury and did not play. But Marquette was able to move the ball very well, finished with 5 or more kills in the match, and Reitzma and Hamilton both were in the double digits with 13 and 10 respectively. So the ball was moving from start to finish, which really put Marquette over the top.
Well, it's great they're able to do ball movement because it's really a team effort all around to get the win. But who is your pick for the team MVP?
I think it's got to be Jenna Reitzma. I mean, like I said, she finished with 13 kills, hit 4.23 as well. But the thing that really stuck out to me was her ability to dictate the game when serving. Ryan Tice talks about it all the time. We want to be able to control the tempo when serving because that puts other teams on the back foot. Reitzma all year has been doing it, and she continued it tonight. She was able to get Eastern Illinois out of rhythm in multiple different spots and lead Marquette on big runs, which helped close sets.
Yeah, I've always seen Reitzma making an impact on the court. So the women have another game coming up against either Purdue or Fairfield. It will be a tough matchup against either team, but how do you think Marquette can pull out the victory?
You know, if they end up playing Purdue again, they lost to Purdue earlier in the regular season, so I think we'll have some knowledge from that. But if it ends up being Fairfield, that's a team they've never played before, so it's really a blank slate as to how you're going to go about it. But in terms of how they're going to win, no matter who they play, the same thing has to happen as it did today, from start to finish. I actually asked the players this in the post-game press conference, and they said everything from the staunch defense, 11 team blocks, to the excellent offense, multiple people getting into double-digit kills, very spread out offense. If that does not happen tomorrow night, regardless of who Marquette plays, it will not move on to the third round, onto the Sweet 16.
Well, thank you very much. Great analysis, man. Very nice to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Following a heartbreaking loss to Purdue in the Maui Invitational Finals, the Golden Eagles will look to get back into rhythm versus Southern.
Marquette starts the game on an 8-0 run, but still comes off a little sloppy, which lets Southern bring the game within 2 points.
But then, in an instant, the Golden Eagles decide to bring the thunder and refuse to slow down.
Marquette forced a skunk, or 5 stops in a row, and couldn't stop attacking the basket, no matter how hard Southern tried.
The Golden Eagles head into the second half up 52-36.
The second half was more of the same. Instead, the underclassmen got to shine.
Led by sophomores Ben Gold and Sean Jones, the underclassmen played lights out and held Southern scoreless for just around 3 minutes.
Marquette takes care of business and takes the dub in a dominant fashion, winning 93-56. 5 players scored over double figures, including Tyler Kulik, who records a milestone, scoring over 1,000 points in his career. 3 first-years played just around 44 minutes and showed great promise in the win.
That's the future. I was super excited to watch them play. We definitely got some dogs in the underclass, and they're going to learn so much, get so much better. And I mean, they get to play with us every day in practice, so that's where my growth coming from, guarding guys in practice when I was younger. So they have a great opportunity, and I think they're going to get so much better over the next coming years.
In the win, senior guard Tyler Kolek becomes the 5th Marquette player to score over 1,000 college career points. Head coach Shaka Smart doesn't think the reigning Big East Player of the Year will stop anytime soon.
He says he's a terrific player. Really grateful for him. And when I heard about those numbers earlier this week, I just said, wow, I'm a math guy, so immediately I started thinking about like what he could get to by the end of his career. I'm really grateful.
Now the men's team shifts its focus to the most anticipated game of the season.
The Marquette faithful have already begun chanting "Beat Bucky" on social media prior to the Golden Eagles matchup against their in-state rival, the Wisconsin Badgers.
Last year left a sour taste in the squad's mouth as the Badgers came into Pfizer form and stole the game in overtime, 80-77.
Wisconsin started off the game hot and had an 11-point lead at the half, but Marquette did not give up as Oso Ighodaro tied the game in the final seconds with a monstrous dunk.
Wisconsin owned the extra period and ran away with the win, snapping Marquette's 13-game winning streak at home versus Wisconsin.
Now, the Golden Eagles have all the momentum heading into this year's meeting as they are the number 3 ranked team in the country and have returned almost everyone from last year's team.
The last time Marquette won in Madison was the 2017 season, and currently the Badgers are on a 2-game winning streak.
Wisconsin holds the series lead 23-15.
Marquette will lean on senior guard Tyler Kolek and senior forward Oso Ighodaro, while junior guard Chucky Hepburn hopes to replicate his 19-point game from last season.
And after a busy week for Marquette athletics, we would like to give out our weekly awards. First up, getting their 3rd straight Team of the Week award, it's the Marquette women's basketball team bringing home the hardware.
The Golden Eagles brought home the Fort Myers tip-off title last week and crushed past Memphis yesterday to stay a perfect 7-0 on the season.
And after the big wins in Fort Myers, the Golden Eagles found themselves ranked number 23 in the latest AP poll.
This is the first time Duffy's squad was in the top 25 this season.
Staying with women's basketball, senior guard Rose Nkumu brings home MVP of the week.
Nkumu secures the honor after being named the Fort Myers tip-off MVP. She scored 14 points in the championship game and averaged 13 points, 6 assists, and 3 steals in the tournament.
Nkumu continued to dominate on the floor with 17 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds last night versus Memphis.
Women's basketball sweeps our awards this week after Skylar Forbes brings home our Newcomer of the Week award.
The first-year forward gave Duffy some solid minutes off the bench in a 3-0 week.
Forbes averaged 3 points and 4 rebounds in 3 games for the Golden Eagles.
She also picked up 4 rebounds and scored 2 points in last night's victory.
Coming up this week in Marquette athletics, the volleyball team is set to play in round 2 tomorrow at 6 p.m.
Meanwhile, is that you?
Meanwhile, the number 3 ranked men's basketball team is back in action as they face the in-state rivals, University of Wisconsin-Madison, on Saturday at 11:30 a.m. at the Kohl Center. But don't forget about the newly ranked women's team as they take on the University of Pennsylvania inside the Al McGuire Center Sunday at 1 p.m.
Coming up in professional sports, what is going on in Carolina? And do the Steelers actually have an offense? Find out after the break.
Awkward. I'm the awkward silence. You try to avoid me, then there I am again.
But an awkward silence can be a great thing.
Like Kelly here is about to demonstrate.
You haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
After you joined our family, it was like, I really do feel complete now.
Before we celebrate the freedom most Americans have, we must fight for the freedom all Americans deserve. Because all lives can't matter until Black lives matter.
I'm Jenny Garth, and as a mother of 3, I know kids worry about a lot of things. Getting enough food to eat shouldn't be one of them. But here in America, that is a real worry for 1 in 5 children. This is unacceptable. and something Feeding America is working to solve. Through a nationwide network of food banks, Feeding America serves virtually every community in the United States, including yours. See how you can help your community. Visit feedingamerica.org. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're Feeding America.
Roll over. When you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique. And your mother. They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love.
Every day,
millions of people are connecting. Father,
cosplayer,
mentor,
actor. It's time we take a step forward, come together,
and discover
how accepting our differences
can make us stronger.
Welcome back to Studio 7 as we discuss the latest surrounding professional sports. Joining me on the panel tonight is Ben Hansen and Matthew Baltz. Let's get started. Carolina Panthers owner David Tepper decided that it was time to part ways with head coach Frank Reich after only 11 games. And the Panthers drafted quarterback Bryce Young first overall in last year's draft ahead of Texans star C.J. Stroud. The Panthers are 1-10 so far this season. Was this decision justified, or did this move happen too soon? What do you all think?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with this was not right. I don't think this was the Panthers' right decision on this one. It's the guy's first season. He went 40-33 with the Colts when he was with them. And, of course, everyone in the United States knew it wasn't a Super Bowl season for the Panthers, but still, it's their rebuilding phase. They have to have time to make a full team again, make a winning team again. And that could have happened with Frank Reich, but they never even figured out if that was a possibility because they just fired him right away after this many games.
Yeah. First of all, I want to give a huge shout out to Frank Reich and the Panthers organization. I'm as a lifelong Bears fan, the trade they made last year for the first overall pick, their next year's pick, and DJ Moore has helped the Bears out tremendously. And the worse the Panthers are, the better the Bears pick is. But no, I don't think it was too soon. Reich, the Panthers knew what they were doing, bringing in a head coach that had been fired mid-season last year. And really, it's just like they have their first-round quarterback, and you're bringing in a coach that was fired. There wasn't a whole lot on the team. They weren't really that prepared. Their defense has allowed 35 touchdowns this year, which is tied for the third most in the league. They're 30th in the league in total offense. So, no, I do not think it was too soon. This team was not firing on any cylinders whatsoever. And, you need to get your first overall pick quarterback. You need to give him a good head coach in a good situation. So it was time for Reich to go, in my opinion.
I think that's absolutely insane. I think what is he supposed to do with a terrible roster that the management gave him? If anything, we should be looking at who's choosing to hire the head coaches. I think management should be fired. Start looking that high up because this is their second year firing a head coach. And what are you supposed to do in this situation? With a head coach gone, that creates even more instability within the organization. And teams like the Chiefs, teams like the Eagles right now, they have stability because they are keeping their head coaches, they're keeping their organization, they're keeping people in and letting them work it out for more than one season. The Panthers are only hurting themselves when they fired this guy.
Well, whether or not it was the right decision, they still have to look for a new coach this offseason. Sticking with coach firings, the Pittsburgh Steelers also decided to move on from one of their coaches, offensive coordinator Matt Canada. Canada had been with the team since 2020. Coming into the week, the Steelers were the 28th ranked offensive team in the NFL, and in their first week after Canada's departure, the Steelers put up over 400 yards on offense for the first time in over 3 seasons. After one game under new offensive coordinator Eddie Faulkner, is this offense sustainable?
I don't think it is. The Steelers, they have all the weapons that they could want. Here's the issue with the running game. They don't have a clear-cut number one back, and that can be hard, especially when their offensive line hasn't been that great. Freiermuth's a good option. Johnson's a great option. They've had wide receiver problems. Does Pickens want to stay? They really don't know. Their defense has been good so far. That's why they've continued to stay in games. But I am not under the impression that this is sustainable. The coaches can only do so much. And, sometimes you really have to rely on your players. Speaking of players, the head of the snake, Kenny Pickett, he has not taken the jump that a lot of people thought he might be able to take here in year 2. So I just do not see, with Pickett, the way he's played so far this year, I do not see him being able to, or the Steelers, being able to, continue this high offensive scoring up.
Of course, I think right away that's just such an obvious way to think about it. I think they can really turn it around because media, of course, the last win that they had was against the Bengals, which are the bottom of the AFC North right now, but they have had a turnaround game. And a bunch of media outlets are talking about how all the offensive players are buying into this new offense, this new way of playing. And they were able to turn around their offense in 1 week, which I think is absolutely crazy. Shout out Najee Harris, 13 points in fantasy. With this new offense, Pat Freiermuth was able to get 9 of his 11 catches or targets for 120 yards. And I think that's absolutely insane because before that, he only had 9 catches on the season. So offensively, you're seeing this wide receiver core and this all these running backs on the team getting the points that they should have been getting this entire season so far. And it's because they have this new offensive coordinator.
I agree. I just don't see Kenny Pickett being able to pivot. I think that he struggles. He has not had a great season. You mentioned the running backs. They have been good, yes, but at what point, it's been 1 week. As we mentioned, it's been 1 week. And really the question becomes, once teams figure out how to stop this new offense, where do they go from there? How is Pickett able to pivot? How is the new offensive coordinator, how are they able to adapt when teams do figure out this new offense that the Steelers are putting out on the field?
Well, only time will tell whether or not they will be able to. Finally, sticking with the NFL, the Buffalo Bills came into this season with high expectations. It was either win a championship or bust. And after a devastating overtime loss to the hands of Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, the Bills find themselves sitting at 6-6 outside of the playoffs. With Kansas City, Dallas, and Miami still left on the schedule, will the Bills make the playoffs?
Immediately, no. They have gone 6-6 so far this season, and they expect the team to just turn around and win the rest of the season because that's what they have to do to make the playoffs, and they have to hope other teams are going to lose to do that. So I think it's just absolutely insane. Josh Allen 0-6 in OT games in his career so far, and of course that he's in the QB position. He's the leader of the team. That contributes to the whole rest of the team. I don't think the team can finish. And of course, with these last 5 games in the season, they're not going to be able to.
Let me tell you something. The Buffalo Bills are top 4 in offense. They average 383 yards per game, and they have 39 total offensive touchdowns. This team can score, and they can score with the best of them. Look at the Philadelphia game. They were right there with one of the league's best teams. You look at the 5 games the Chiefs have, or the Bills have remaining at Kansas City. They've played historically great against Kansas City. They've gotten into some all-time classic games with Kansas City. You look at, they play the Cowboys at home. The Bills are 5-1 at home this year. They played great at home. They play at LA Chargers, where the Chargers have had a hard time containing scrambling QBs and the run game, which the Bills are great at both. They play the Patriots at home again, who are a bottom 8 offense in the league. The Patriots have struggled all year. They beat the Bills early this year, but look for the Bills to really bounce back. And then they play Miami, which they beat the crap out of Miami earlier this year, 48-20 in Miami. So, really the Bills, you're looking at if they go 4-1 in that 5-game stretch, they're in the playoffs, and I think that's more than doable. The problem for them has been turnovers, and if their offense can limit those turnovers and just be that offense that they are and score without turning the ball over, I think you're looking at the Buffalo Bills making a return to the playoffs.
I think that's kind of crazy because they've gone, like I said, 6-6 this season so far, and you want to expect them to go, 4-1 for the rest of the season? I think that's just way too big of an ask for them. Of course, they fired their offensive coordinator in Week 10 after their game of the Denver Broncos, so they're not stable right now, like I was just talking about with the Panthers, and they're not going to be stable enough to make the playoffs.
Well, a lot's going to need to break right for them to make the playoffs, but thank you all. This was a great discussion. We're out of time. We'll be back next week for a regularly scheduled program, Tuesday at 7 p.m. Until then, good night, Marquette.